All right. Hey, Vanessa, we're live. It's time for
We
a
are
live.
live.
Love it, love it, love it. And we've got a strong presentation for you today. And if you think it's all about mailbox power, it's not. But there'll be a healthy dose of that in there as well. And building a strong company culture. Do you love company culture, Vanessa?
I love culture in general. I love company culture. I think that it's a place that doesn't get a ton of attention from
Mhm.
company owners, and they spend a lot of time on the bottom line, a lot of time on figuring out how to sell things and that type of thing.
Yep.
Not a lot of time on company culture. If you notice, Joe, when new businesses are starting up, one of the last hires is an HR person that
True.
tends to drive company culture.
That is true. Now, I'll tell you what, I'm impressed. We have Kurt Tufert with us today. He just said, "Here we go." But I got to tell you what, when I think about company culture, I think about his company and how they use mailbox power as a part of their company culture. So,
Yeah.
Kurt, thanks for being here today. You're a shining example, and so is your company of company culture. And I'm ready to get going. Should we start with this slide deck and just get
I,
to it?
I'm ready. I'm ready. Oh, we didn't ask about lunch. Anyone eating lunch?
Yeah.
Hey, Yvonne. Hey, Joseph. Hey, Kurt. It's good to see you guys. So, if anyone's eating lunch today, Joe is not. I am
Yeah.
not. But if you all are having lunch, Kurt's having barbecue. Why did I even ask?
I just had airplane
That's good.
cookies. I'm
Yeah.
traveling. I had airplane
I
cookies, and yeah.
I have to apologize, Joe. I shouldn't have asked about food. I forgot that you haven't eaten and you're in a place where you're not
Mhm.
easy access to food at the moment. So
I'm
we'll
hangry.
put that conversation on pause. Let's get
Thank
to our
you.
topic today.
Okay, let's do it. All
All
right.
right. Building a strong company culture. It begins with seeing employees as people. And I know that sounds like such a basic statement, right? Of course, we see them as people. But the fact of the matter is, a lot of employers do not see their employees as people. They see them as worker bees. They see them as anything but real people who have real lives outside of the job that they're doing. So, we want to talk about some things that you can do to make sure that your employees are loyal to you, but also to make sure that the company culture is a reflection of your beliefs and your personal values rather than just what it will by default become if you don't set the intention to build a strong company culture. So, Joe, as I was saying on the front end of this, uh, often company culture is an afterthought to a lot of people starting companies. And because of that, it can go sideways really, really quickly because
Right.
all you need to do is put some strong personalities in the mix and your company culture gets defined before you even get to have any input on what that looks like.
So true. And I got to tell you, here's what I key in on company culture. It is about people, right? Just like you said, it's about people. And all too often, companies do not treat they treat their employees as just another number. And
Yeah.
I've seen it. Oh my goodness, I've seen it, and it bothers me tremendously. You know why it bothers me so much? Because it takes so little effort to let somebody know they're a human and you love them and you are so happy that they're a part of your organization. So little effort. And once they feel that and know it, right? And
Yeah.
know it. Everybody moves together when there's culture. Everybody moves together when there's culture. When it's missing, everybody's moving autonomously. There are silos everywhere.
Yeah.
It's not pretty.
It's not pretty. So we're going to talk about a little bit about recognition and the basic things that you can do for employees, but then we'll get a little bit deeper into some of the things you can do to create that great culture that we're all
Mhm.
looking for. So with that, there's the statement. Everyone loves to be recognized and appreciated. And that
Yeah.
is a fact, Joe. We talk
Yes.
about that all the time. Who
Yes.
should we recognize? Employees, team members, sales reps, business builders, achievers, record breakers, and loyal and dedicated people. One
Yes.
of the very first things that you can do, besides getting people onboarded onto your company, into your company correctly, besides that, recognizing your dedicated people, recognizing the people that have been with you since the very beginning, recognizing their loyalty to you. And Joe, I think you can probably speak to this, because some company owners are like, well, giving them the paycheck every week is the recognition that I give my employees.
I'm shaking my head. I'm shaking my head because unfortunately I know some. They're not my friends, but I know them. So they do. They treat them as human capital instead of,
Yes.
people. And I'm gonna ask everybody a question right now. If you've ever seen a company where people are not just recognized but praised for the job they do well, the performance is always better. The
Yes.
company performs better. The employees are happier. The customers are happier and they stick around forever. This is a
Yes.
core piece of any business is exactly what we're speaking to. Absolute core. It should be the very first thing and not the last. And I know when I came to Mailbox Power, it was one of the very first documents I wrote. What is our culture? What is our ethos? Is what I called it. It's a guiding, the guiding principles for the company. Who are we? How do we operate? How do we function? Right. And I remember writing, yeah, it's about people, not employees
Yes.
and customers, people. That was one of the very first things I wrote.
Yes. And you know what, Joe? We have that actually in the Post. So the Post is our app that's available for anybody. You can go onto your app store and search the Post community. And we have that under our mission and values
Mhm.
statement, which is underneath our essential info in the Post.
Right.
You can go and read that. You can read what we're all about as a company. Because we don't just speak about this topic because it's kind of a trendy thing right now. We speak about it because we believe it to the core.
Yes, we do all day.
All right. So, what do you do if you don't know where to begin? Start by welcoming people to your company. One of the coolest things that I ever experienced was going to a brand new company. And when I arrived there, there was a huge welcome card on the desk with a welcome gift. And I really felt like I had stepped into something very, very special. And I think that if we can start there, that is a great place to begin with recognition and with making sure that people feel indoctrinated into your culture right from day one. You don't have to lay out the whole vision, values, the mission statement, everything else for them. But if you welcome them into your company right from day one, you are at least starting off on the right foot.
Absolutely. Vanessa, I'd worked with a company and they had a very big turnover problem. And the very first thing I said to them is, welcome your new folks to the
Yes.
team. And every week you do a stand up meeting in front of the whole company and
Yeah.
you recognize people that have been there for 6 months, 12 months, 1 year, 2 years, 5 years, 10 years, because
Yeah.
now they're looking at it and going, oh, I want to be here for 6 months and get recognized. I want to be here for a year and get recognized for a job well done. And
Yeah.
that is a part of what we're talking about. And a simple welcome to the team. Are you kidding me? How
Yeah.
easy is that? And by the way, we can make it a click of a button for you. We'll make you look like a
Exactly.
hero for clicking a button.
Yeah, all you have to do is add them to an automation, and that is where you set something up once and it can go out as many times or as frequently as you would like.
Mhm.
And one of our automations would be to welcome people to your team. Another thing is to recognize them. The welcome aboard message there that you see on your screen, congratulating them for a job well done, certificates.
Mhm.
The mug that you see there is celebrating 5 years. People will respond so very well to you acknowledging their milestones. And I've told this story a million times, Joe, about, when I was with a company for 5 years and I got nothing. Like, it was a big deal for me, a 5 year anniversary,
Yeah.
and didn't even get like, hey, thanks or anything. The
Yeah.
next year, I got this massive crystal award for my 6th year, and then on my 10th there was again nothing. So it was inconsistent recognition because somebody scrambled at the last minute and tried to make up for the previous 5 years.
Yeah.
But that kind of thing, it just doesn't sit well, right? So be consistent. Make sure you recognize the one year, every single year that an employee has been with you is a reason to celebrate. Every single one of them.
Absolutely. Actually, V, I don't know if we have time for this, and I know that we didn't talk about this, but you shared a story. I believe it was you shared a story about somebody who was with a company for a long time, and it was about a driver's license, I think, and keeping AAA or what
Oh,
was
it was Brad's grandmother, Brad's
it? Yeah.
granny.
I see people chase this stuff, but do you mind sharing that really quick?
So Brad's granny, oh gosh, God rest her soul. She was the sweetest, sweetest, sweetest lady on the planet. And so she had stopped, she was well into her 90s and she had stopped driving. And so Brad was helping her with her finances and everything. And he was, really taking care of that for her. And he came in, I'll never forget. I was sitting talking with her in her living room, and he came out of the office and he held up this renewal notice for AAA. And he said, Granny, since you're not driving anymore, you really don't need this. So I'm not going to renew it. And she was like, oh no, honey, you have to renew that. And he said, but you're not driving anymore. Like, you really don't need this anymore. And she said, honey, it's well worth it. I have been with them. Look at this. And she reached into her wallet and pulled out her card, her last card from AAA, the card from the year before. And it was like, thanking you for 63 years of service or some crazy thing. And she was like, I have to because they send me a card every year and they depend on me. And so she really wanted to renew that AAA, which, like, she literally had no use for it, but she thought, no, I've been dedicated to them for 63 years. I'm gonna, or however many years it was, I can't
Mhm.
remember off the top of my head, but it was decades, and she did not want to give that up
Yeah.
because they sent her a card thanking her for her loyalty.
Right? And it's amazing. We're human, right? I mean, we all want to achieve. And sometimes achievement might be working for a company to get an award,
Yeah,
to be there for 5 and 10 and 20 years. And I know that might sound funny to some of you, but truth, I mean, it's a part
yeah.
of life. It's what some people do. So anyway, sorry to interrupt our presentation with an
Not
with
at
a,
all.
I
Not
think
at
we were
all, Joe. And
okay.
that was a great point. That was a really great point because people, we know in this business, people will do a lot, and we joke about it, for the t-shirt, right? They'll do
Yes.
so much to get the pin or the t-shirt or the mug or the whatever it may be.
Yep.
Do not underestimate. I know the price of those things is not very high, but the value is incredibly high.
Absolutely.
So the
Absolutely.
price of the t-shirt, the price of the mug, the price of the pin, not high for
Mhm.
you. The value to the recipient is sky high.
Absolutely. Yeah. Cool stuff.
All right, here's another thing. A mug. I'm kind of a big deal around here. My boss thinks I'm kind of a big deal. Those kind of things are really, really valuable for your sales team, for your employees. Certificates, cards, letting people know that you value them as an employee, not just on those milestone anniversaries, which hopefully you implement that and you put something in place for those things, but also for record sales months and big accomplishments. Or here's another one, and this is often overlooked, Joe, and it's kind of a, you might say it's a little bit of a sore point for me. People who do big things, whether they do put together a big campaign, or they put together a sales campaign, or they put together a big meeting or a convention or something like that. People who have worked long term on a project, and then at the end of it, everyone's like, yay, great job. But to be able to document that success or the success of the project, whatever it is, in by sending them a water bottle with all of the pictures of of the convention or whatever it may be, or a mug with a picture of the team that worked on the project, a winning team, successfully launched,
Yeah.
XYZ project in record time. That kind of thing goes a long, long way because They have been often your team that's working on a long-term project, they don't stop thinking about it when when they go home at night or when they stop working for the day. They don't stop thinking about long-term projects when they stop working on the clock. They never stop working on that. They're thinking about it while they're sleeping. They're thinking about it when they wake up in the morning. They put a lot of time and effort into that, and a little bit of recognition for all of their dedication, especially to a long-term project, goes a long, long way.
Absolutely.
All right. And here are a couple other things, just some cute cards, some fun cards that you can send to do exactly what I was just talking about.
Absolutely.
And I love your mug here, Joe. This is something you created.
I did. I created it for a new customer, and they literally called me, and this was about recognition. And here's the deal: the GOAT. That stands for greatest of all time, just in case you didn't catch that. And
Yeah.
what they did is their sales teams are known for recognition. That's why people are in sales. They want to be recognized. They want to go earn that big commission. They want to go do the deal. And this was about their sales team. And they called and said, "Hey, we got some recognition issues and we'd like to fix them." And I said, "Well, what's going on?" "Well, yeah, like once a month we do a stand up and we give them this T-shirt and it's kind of crappy and there's nothing else there." And I said, "Well, let me do a little work." And I put together a package, and I used a goat, an actual goat, that picture, that mug, and that's what they adopted as a part of their sales culture. Is if you have that mug, you are the greatest of all time. And of course, it puts their name on it, is a rock star, and the name of the company right below it. And I just love companies that understand this, understand accomplishments, they understand recognition, they understand that performance, sales performance, company performance improves when people are recognized for a job well done. Yes.
So I want to make the point, Joe, that to do this type of recognition, you don't have to have a huge staff. A lot of people are probably watching saying, okay, well, I'm in business for myself. I do not have time for all of this.
Right.
And I want to speak to the fact that you can see merge fields on every single one of these examples that we have on the screen right here. Can you speak to that and the fact that they only have to set it up once?
Oh my gosh. It is so set it and forget it. It's crazy, right? You create the automation, and you put everything together one time. You don't have to go rebuild it every single time. All you have to do is add somebody's name to that automation, and we will take care of the rest. I promise. Mailbox Power will do it for you. It just makes it so easy. And that's, if there's anybody out there in HR that's listening, what a daunting task it can be
Oh,
to just for a birthday recognition program. And I
yes.
promise, one time you have the data, you've probably got it in a spreadsheet. I'll bet you I could solve your birthday problem inside of an hour. Done. Everybody would get recognized. I mean, it is a simple process. We strive to make it easier and easier and easier for all of our users to basically use our automations, and it saves time and money.
Yeah. So when you see the merge field on the front of these cards or the front of the mug or the brownies that you see here on the screen or any of that, that's pulling the data straight out of your contacts in your mailbox power system and putting it on the card. So it would never say congratulations first name
Yep.
or homeowner or what some of the things that we see. We
Yeah.
actually use people's names around here, and we do that because people are people. And that goes back to our very first slide of seeing your employees as real people. When you start using them by name, and think about that, think about the first time. And you may even have to think back years. Your first job, the first time you walked through the hallway and somebody C suite high up knew your name, right? Somebody said, "Hi, Joe." Like that feeling of, wow, I just got validated by somebody way above my pay grade.
Yep.
And that type of thing, just using their names on things like this goes a long, long way.
Absolutely. Absolutely. 100%.
All right. And I just want to also mention that you can also use the names and the merge fields on our certificates. We have loads and loads and loads of certificates of recognition, along with our really beautiful leather laser engravable portfolio. So you can either send a certificate by itself. You can send it in one of our gigagrams, which is a big giant card that looks like this. You can send it out in one of these, or you can send it in this beautiful laser engraved portfolio, where you can display the certificate on the inside there. And that just makes even more impact. So it really depends on the accomplishment. It depends on the budget. It depends maybe for, a minor, no accomplishment is minor, but maybe for an entry level accomplishment, you send just the certificate, and then you up the game each time. The stake is a little bit bigger and a little bit bigger.
Yes.
So,
doable and affordable.
yes. So let's talk about what happens when the company culture, when people work remotely. Okay. Because Owl Labs did a study on this, was during the pandemic, during COVID, and 70% of the people started working from home. 70% of the workforce started working from home during COVID. Now, obviously, that doesn't account for doctors, nurses, and people who were essential workers that had to still keep going to their job. But 70% of us were working from home at that time. And then a lot of those people that were working from home said that they didn't plan to go back to work. In fact, I have talked to people who their company said, no, time to come back to work. And they're like, no, I like what I'm doing. I like the fact that I don't have a 2-hour commute every day, and I'll be working from home. And they have actually quit and found new jobs where they can work from home. A lot of companies found that having remote employees actually worked for them, and that they actually got more productivity. The fear in the very beginning was that people, if Big Brother's not there over your shoulder watching you and telling you what to do, what exactly are you doing? There was a big fear that that would be, that it would cause a decline in productivity for the remote workers. And that Owl Labs report said exactly the opposite, that people felt like they had fewer distractions and that they actually were able to work more efficiently in their home environment.
Yeah, it's pretty awesome.
But that can really wreak havoc on company culture, right? You've got all of these remote employees all over the place. And how do you ensure that you still maintain that strong bond between them? Because they're not seeing each other in the hallways. They're not working elbow to elbow. They're not running into each other in the break room and things like that, which is where we normally bond as employees. So what do you do to ensure that that environment and that culture remains? And that is the fact that you have to let those employees know that they are valued, but more importantly, share your vision with them. Joe, you and I talk about this a lot, about making sure people know where we're going and why we're going there.
No doubt. Well, and more importantly, where we started and where we came from.
Yeah.
As mailbox power, it's important for everybody to understand the road we've already trodden. And of course, where are we headed?
Yeah.
And why is it important to the company? Why is it important to management? And why should it be important to you? And of course, this title says everything. Recognition fosters loyalty. You've probably all worked. Everybody who's listening right now has probably worked at a company where there was zero recognition, nothing.
Mhm.
Show up, get your job done, and get out, and you'll get a check.
And that's how I'm recognizing you.
Right. Yeah. And that's how I'm recognizing, I'm giving you a check. Is that not good enough?
Yeah.
I've heard that. And
I know.
boy, oh God, that just makes my skin crawl to think, that there are still companies out there that function like that.
And the other thing, Joe, let me jump in here real quick, because another misconception is that if an employee tells me I'm doing a great job, I might go and ask for a salary increase, right? I might ask for a raise. So I need to keep them where they are and keep my nose turned up and let them think they're not working hard enough so they'll do more. And whereas the fact of the matter is exactly the opposite happens. If you can never be happy, if they can never please you, trust me, they'll burn out and go somewhere else.
Yeah. And let's talk about the military for a minute. Yeah. They don't have the option to give you big pay raises. Right. And rank advancements are due at a time in service.
Yeah.
And, your abilities. And recognition is a monster deal in the military. I mean, a monster deal, and it starts in boot camp and it never stops. And that's how our military, poorly paid military,
Yeah.
stay happy and stay there. Some people stay there for decades and retire. Why? Yeah, recognition. It's a big deal,
Recognition.
folks. Yeah, what do they say?
And talk about developing company culture. I mean, the military has culture beyond culture. So that's part of it as well, is that
Absolutely.
solid attitude of service and fostering that among all the people that are there.
Absolutely. And that word recognition, I have to say this because I've said it so many times. Babies cry for it, and and grown men die for it. I mean,
Yeah.
literally, folks, that's the deal. And, just think about that. That's what's going on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if you don't know where to start, again, we want to give you some starting points here. If you don't know where to start in terms of developing your company culture, have your team come up with their core values and the things that the company is going to operate by, including them in that process rather than you just coming up with everything and saying, okay, this is the way it is. If you can include the team, they will protect those values beyond words. They will have a stake in it, and they'll protect those values, and you'll have a much, much better chance of protecting those values and making sure that you weed out the bad apples. And I want to say this, Joe. We spend a lot of time when we're hiring people figuring out whether or not they meet our qualifications, figuring out whether or not they're
Mhm.
qualified for the job. What
Mhm.
you should be focused on is figuring out whether they fit the culture of the company.
Right.
And those questions that you ask during that hiring process will be completely different than, what did you do at your last job and show me some projects you've worked on
Mhm.
and all of that.
Mhm.
No, what do you think about this? Or what do you think about that? When you get to know the person, you'll figure out whether or not they fit into your company culture and whether or not they're going to support those core values that your team has come up with.
So true. And I'm going to stop sharing for a minute because I'm going to share one core value of one of my favorite companies, Southwest Airlines.
Oh, yes.
And I was condemned by friends who said, "You have the means to fly first class on other airlines. Why are you flying Southwest?" One of their core values is a fun loving attitude. Fun loving attitude. And I just flew 3 legs yesterday, 3 flights. And I saw one flight attendant on this airline, and not Southwest, one flight attendant that was smiling and looked like they were having a great day. Every single time I have flown Southwest, without fail, I am met with a fun, loving attitude by every single person, including the pilots. It is not just it's everybody. It's a part of their company culture. It's
Yeah.
how they function. And it's an easy one to kind of share because most of us we'll look at Southwest and go, oh, it's a discount airline. Sure is. But I got to tell you what, yeah, I have the means to fly first class on other airlines. But you know what? I so value a good attitude over a first class seat that I am always willing to fly Southwest if I can. Now, in today's day and age, it's kind of crazy where you're flying because, geez Louise, folks, listen, I mean, it's kind of a crazy mess out there with a
Yeah.
lack of pilots and stuff, but it still does not affect. That company culture was built from day one, and they all have a fun loving attitude, and that is one attribute of their company culture.
Yes, absolutely. And speaking of that, we've got 5 tips to turn up the
Oh,
fun, Joe.
perfect. I didn't even know we got this was here. Awesome.
So, number one is host a meet and greet on a Friday afternoon. Again, all of these tips can work in person or online. So, think about this. If you have remote employees, you can include them. So, this would be no work, all fun, play online games, trivia, life experience, bingo, all kinds of fun things to turn up the fun on that. Do it during business hours, though. Please don't expect people to spend more time with you on a Friday evening. Just
Seriously.
decide, you know what? At the last hour of Friday, when everybody's mentally clocked out anyway, we're going to play bingo or we're going to do trivia, and we'll break up into teams and we'll have a great time. Here's another one. Number 2, team workout. Everyone. So this is where you all come on a Zoom. All remote employees, real employees, everybody comes on a Zoom and you all work together, right? Everyone works together And you can ask each other questions and the conversation just flows, but there's no expectation. There's no presentation. Nobody has to be engaged and sitting there staring at you because they're all working on their own things. And that's sometimes a really great way, especially if you have a big project to tackle that would normally take a lot of back and forth conversation with I do this team workout all the time with people because we get so much more done when everybody's there and we can just flip out, ask the questions and get the answers and be able to take action on the things that we need to take action on. So that's a good one too. Water cooler conversation. That is one of the things that I mentioned earlier, Joe. We don't have that when we're working remotely, right? You don't have the water cooler conversation. So if you can have a water cooler conversation or a water cooler meeting where you can invite employees to ask each other questions and discuss their hobbies or to find their common interests. Again, that will be a culture building exercise for you. Do it during business hours. Let me just say this, because I'm sure there are people saying we don't have enough time to get our work done, let alone have all these fun things that you've got going on. And I will tell you that if you mix in a little bit of fun, the productivity during the work times increases. So you actually do have time for all this, because your people will be more productive because they recognize that you want them to have a good time and not just be a workhorse for you. So let me give you a tip that ties into mailbox power for this water cooler combo is to send them all a water bottle with their name on it ahead of time. And then you have them bring that to the meeting that you have. So they all have their company water bottles, and then you're having a conversation. Awards night. You can have the team vote on fun awards for their teammates. We've done this, Joe, in lots of different teams that I've been a part of, where we give each other awards, especially when things are getting a little tense around a project or something. And you get, like, we once gave out the nitpicker award.
Should have been called the attention to detail award, but anyway.
I know, we called it the nitpicker. So, but it was attention to detail, but because the people that aren't detail oriented feel like that's nitpicking, so we just made light of it and called it the nitpicker. But that's the fun kind of thing you can do on awards night. And by the way, the recipient that got that voted for somebody else for the I can't remember. Never on camera. Like, always, they're never on camera. So anyway, fun things that you can do for an awards night where you can get people they can dress up. So when we did our awards night, Joe, and I know we're going over time, but I think this is fun stuff.
Yeah.
When we did our awards night, we had everybody dress up as though they were going to the Oscars from the waist up, right? You know, because you're only on Zoom. So from the waist up, it was like gowns and hair and the whole bit. And then we presented those awards on Zoom. And then we actually mailed out the real awards on our certificate paper, because that certificate paper is so beautiful. We mailed out the awards after we showed them on our keynote or PowerPoint presentation. We sent them real certificates, and they got those certificates in the mail just a few days after that presentation, all through Mailbox Power, all because we were able to use merge fields and just click of a button and send that stuff out. And it didn't take anybody hours to figure that all out and set it all up. And then the last one is exactly what you're sitting here listening to, a lunch and learn. But here's what Joe does, and I love it. When we have lunch and learns through the office, through Mailbox Power, Joe makes sure that everyone has lunch. So
fathom that. Food.
Right?
Yeah.
So not only the people in the office have lunch, but all the remote employees get DoorDash or whatever delivered to their house, so that everyone's not sitting watching the people in the office eat lunch, but they're enjoying their lunch as well and not feeling like they're left out or not part of the team.
Absolutely. Breaking bread together. It's important, right? Eating together, learning together, being together. Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, so very important. So here are just a few things that you can send, whether you send to your employees a care package, whether it's delivered to them at their desk or delivered to them remotely. You can send recognition or any of these things, but also you can do a pre-event package, like I was talking about, sending that water bottle ahead of the water bottle combo meeting and that kind of thing, so that they have these things in front of them and you can it just is a bonding thing. Like you said, Joe, breaking bread or having commonality,
Mhm.
then you know that this is a part of it, and this is what this is the glue that will hold employees loyal to you, but also loyalty to your mission, your
Yeah.
values, and
Yes.
everything that the company stands for.
Yes. 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 The cause, right? The cause.
Yeah.
Awesome. This is great stuff.
Great stuff. So, anyway, I hope that you all have found some value in this and what we're doing. I think that if you can just start somewhere, it's starting by recognizing people's birthdays and doing the welcome aboard card. If you just need to start somewhere, start there and then build upon that. And if you could have your team come up with those core values as we suggested, then make sure that when you do the welcome card, you put those core values inside the welcome card so that every single person that comes on board knows exactly what you stand for.
Absolutely. And folks, just get started. If you're not doing anything, just get started. Keep it simple. Recognize a birthday, recognize their anniversary date from when they got started. That's two things you can do immediately to
Yes.
actually start changing that company culture that you may not have right now. And it is easy. And I got to tell you what the easiest thing about the whole thing is. It's just loving another human and understanding that they need that recognition, understanding that they are human just like you, and they want to be recognized for doing a good job, and they don't want to be beat up for doing just beat up for doing a bad job, right? I mean,
Right.
that's not a part of the deal, right? I
Yeah.
mean, it is a part of we all make mistakes. People make mistakes. It happens, and
Yeah.
but the other side of this is that people do great things, and they do great things for the right mission and the right cause. And when they do, I mean, even if it's just words coming out of your mouth, right? I mean, Vanessa
Yes.
said something really important that, you're brand new in a company and somebody high up above my pay grade knows who I am. That's enough to
Yeah.
get started. That's enough to get started. It's
Yeah.
not enough in the end, but it's enough to get started because you
Yeah.
recognize them. And that's easy, right? That's the easy part. It's all easy. You just have to be a good human. If you're not a good human, I don't know what to tell you. But anyway,
We
I'm
can't
sure there's,
help
yeah, we
you.
can't help you. I'm
You're
sure
not a
there's
good
none of those listening. But anyway, here we are. It is the end of our Lunch and
Yes.
Learn. Vanessa, any final words?
No, just start somewhere. Start today. Just make sure that you get something rolling um, so that you can develop that culture and make sure that you, even if you have a great company culture already, so that you solidify that and validate it and make sure that everyone knows what you stand for. And then the other thing is, if you missed any of this Lunch and Learn or any of our other Lunch and Learns, please head over to our YouTube channel, youtube.com/mailbox power. And you can watch this Lunch and Learn or any of the other ones, or some of our Experts Unleashed series that we have, where we invite experts to come and share their knowledge and expertise with all of you. And then finally, Joe, I feel like this is a bit of a mouthful. Finally, the post. The post is our
Mhm.
community where we exchange ideas, and we would love to have you be a part of our community. So please go onto your app store, wherever that may be, whether it's Apple or the Android. Go onto the App Store and search the Post community. And please, we welcome all of you. We would love to discuss these ideas and any other ideas that you have for developing strong company culture.
Awesome. Thank you, Vanessa. And thank you, everybody. Thank you for being a customer of Mailbox Power. I appreciate you. Vanessa appreciates you. My partners and every person that works for Mailbox Power appreciates you very, very much. Now, with that being said, I hope to see you again very, very soon, like, in 7 days. So thank you for your time today. We appreciate you. Have a great day, and we'll see you soon. Bye bye.
Bye.